am so frustrated right now because I just Googled, I YouTubed the term menstrual cups, right? And every single video that showed up in like the top 10 videos were things like menstrual cups, never again, or like I tried menstrual cups for a week. And I'm like, well, you know, the average period is about 6 to 7 days, so a week is about how long you would try a menstrual cup if it were your first cycle trying a menstrual cup. So I'm looking through all of these and it's all freaking scare tactics, right? So you have a bunch of thumbnails with people going like, right, with their menstrual cup and a bunch of blood everywhere, or, you know, the little emojis with like that like scream emoji. And oh God, it's so frustrating. Everything that I've seen regarding menstrual cups, and of course everything is being a little dramatic because not everything that I've seen about menstrual cups is horrible or, you know, clickbaity. But for the most part, a lot of it is. There's like two schools of menstrual cup. It's either really, really dramatic and clickbaity and, oh my God, it's so gross, man. Or it's like really earthy, crunchy. So you have two schools of thought, and I feel like there's no in between, really, unless someone's being like paid to talk about the menstrual cups, which is a whole other topic. But anyway, so I thought I needed to express my thoughts on menstrual cups because I have been using menstrual cups since I was 22. So this October, I want to say this October, is going to be exactly 7 years of menstrual cup use. In addition to that, I have an IUD as well. So a lot of the time when you read the menstrual cup instructions, it actually does say, you know, if you have an IUD, like consult your physician, as if it's a complete no-go if you have an IUD that you just can't use menstrual cups, which is a complete lie as well. Anywho, so I feel like, I mean, I think that I've converted probably at least 10 people, if not like 15-ish women, to menstrual cups since I started using them back in 2012. So let's get started, right? Okay, so I have tried two menstrual cups, two menstrual cup brands, which I have here. And I've also tried menstrual discs, but that is a completely different video. That is a completely different topic. So I thought I would start with menstrual cups because that's what I have the most experience with, and it's also what I've been using for most of my adult life when it comes to periods. I'll start with my backstory on why I even tried a menstrual cup, because I used to be in that group of people that thought that the idea of menstrual cups was just disgusting. Like, I thought that it sounded messy. I thought that it sounded a little gross. I had a friend who had been using the Diva cup, I think, for about 2 years, and she told me to try it, and she'd been telling me to try it for maybe a year and a half, telling me over and over and over again to try it. And I kept telling her, well, you know, like, A, it sounds weird, I don't know, I don't think I can do it. B, I have an IUD and you don't, so you just don't understand. I can't just be trying new things like that. And for some reason in my mind, you know, having a cup in me versus having a tampon was somehow different when it comes to having an IUD. I mean, honestly, now, looking back, I think that there's more of a risk of your strings wrapping around a tampon, especially the way that you yank it out. So honestly, you know, if you can use tampons with an IUD, you can use a menstrual cup with the IUD. That's basically the gist. Going back to the story, I was living in Boston, and anyone from New England knows what the winters are like, right? So there was this day, it was the day that I just had it. A little basics on my period. My period is long. My period is heavy. I am a small person, but I have a heavy flow. Like, that whole, you know, your flow is dependent on your size as a person is just ridiculous. I have always had a heavy period. I've always had a very long period. Of course, with my IUD insertion, my period got longer and heavier, and I got cramps, which is so fun. But yeah, so It's very long, it's very heavy, it's freaking irritating. So if you're, like, I was using tampons as my main method of menstrual care, as I like to call it, and yeah, there was a day where I just had it. It was so freaking irritating. Like, I was just done. There was about probably 2 feet of snow on the ground at this point. I spent my entire day out of the house, so I had to leave my house probably at 6:30 to get to work because I had to take 2 trains and a bus to get to work every day. So I'd gotten to work. By the time I'd gotten maybe halfway through my work day, I had to change my tampon, etc., etc. So I was always using Super Plus tampons, which basically is the highest absorbency you can get. Okay, supposedly that's supposed to last you 6 to 8 hours, right? That's what it says on the packaging. So by the time I'd gone through my 8 to 5 work day, which at the time was nannying, and then getting on a train, going back downtown, attempting to go to my dance class, which at that point was difficult because it was one of the heaviest days of my flow. So attempting to go to a dance class, walking around downtown, I had to go to Trader Joe's, like I had to get my groceries. Throughout all of this, I probably had to buy a drink at Starbucks probably 4 times. 4 times I had to buy a drink at Starbucks just to use the bathroom, because that is how many times I leaked through my tampon that day. And it is freezing outside. At this point, I'm trying to remember, I don't even think I had proper snow boots at this time, so my toes were just frozen and numb, and I was carrying all this stuff, and I kept having to stop at Starbucks to use the bathroom. And everyone knows that not every Starbucks in a city has a bathroom either. So you go, you wait in line, you buy the freaking drink to have the right to get the code and use the bathroom, only to find out that there is no bathroom in some locations. That happened to me in New York several times. Yeah, on this day, I was just fed up. By the time that I had taken the T, which is the train, back home, and from the station, I still had a good like 15-20 minute walk back to my apartment. I'm there like trudging through the snow, so angry, so frustrated that I had already had to change my tampon so many times, to the point where I didn't have any left that I had brought with me for the day. And I remembered my friend mentioning menstrual cups. So what do? So I go to the Whole Foods that is a 5-minute walk from my house, and I walk in there and I go, you know, I didn't even do price shopping. I didn't do price shopping. I didn't do brand shopping. I bought the only thing that was available to me at the time. Now there's way more menstrual cups out there. There are menstrual cups in Target. I've seen them at Walmart. I've seen them at CVS. They're becoming much more popular, thank God. But at the time, it wasn't like that, right? So I go to Whole Foods because I know they sell them there. I'd seen it there before. And I go and I get my Diva cup. You know, I assumed I was a 1 because I hadn't given vaginal birth, etc. I go, I grab my Diva cup. I paid the full $40 because I was just that desperate. I didn't even bother trying to see if it was cheaper on Amazon, nothing. There was no promo code. I went in person, I went to Whole Foods, I grabbed the Diva cup, I walked out. So I go home, and I was just so desperate. What's interesting is that most people's first time using their menstrual cup is a disaster, right? So the first time, it's really messy, they don't know what they're doing. My first time was so freaking easy that it made it harder in the next couple cycles when I did have to hit that learning curve. But I think I was just so blinded by frustration and desperation that my first use was seamless. It pretty much, it went exactly the way it was supposed to. I popped it in there, it popped, literally popped it in there, and the rest is history. It has been 7 years, and I have not gone back once, all right? Not once. I had one time where my period just came out of freaking nowhere. I literally had no warning signs. It was early, which never happens, and I was at work, and I had to ask someone to borrow a tampon for the first time in I think 6 years of my life, and it was horrendous. Now that I've used menstrual cups, literally horrendous when I try to use any other method ever again. I have 2 menstrual cups, and the menstrual cups that I have are the Diva Cup and the Lily Cup Original. Not the same as the Lily Cup Compact, that's the one that folds, which technically is the one that I wanted, but this one says that it was designed for heavier flow, so, you know, heavy flow, so that's me. Anywho, so this is my Diva Cup. Oh, yeah, dark shirt, that's better. Okay, this is my Diva Cup. So my Diva Cup, this is not the original one from 7 years ago. This one I've had for about 5 years. The original one did fall in a toilet once. And although I did go on a menstrual cup live journal, and they did mention that if it falls in the toilet, it's cool. You know, they had all these different methods for sanitizing it, but I was so paranoid about it that I just, no. So I ordered a new one. So this one is about 5 years old. So they say that these last up to 10 years. I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Because if you keep it clean, if you keep it sanitized, if you boil it, I don't see why it won't last you 10 years. So this video is really more of like a personal first-hand account of menstrual cups as a whole, and my feelings about using them and how awesome they've been, you know. I will probably do a part 2 because this is gonna be long. I'll probably do a part 2 when it comes to like actual techniques and tips and all that kind of stuff. Anywho, back to my first-hand account. But yeah, so this is my Diva Cup. It is a size 1. It is nice and firm, and I feel like I loved that it was nice and firm for the first few years, and then as I got older, my period did change a little bit, as they do, and I remember a couple of years ago being very into a softer cup, something that's not this firm, for certain days of my cycle. So that is where Lily Cup comes in. So I ordered this, not because I wasn't happy with this, right? I was perfectly happy with this. This is my Lily Cup Original, size 1, or A. Both of these are size A1. I don't remember what they use for the terminology for both of these brands. But yeah, so this is my Lily Cup Original. What I really did like about it is that it has that nice little swoop right here. So if you look at it sideways like this, you can see that it's slanted instead of being just straight across like the Diva Cup. So that's a little comparison for you. The reason I chose the original, I was originally going to get the compact. Now the reason I wanted the compact is because for most of my adult life, my period has been extremely irregular. So a lot of the time I didn't know if it was coming, and I didn't always have clear signs. So I mean, yeah, like my boobs would swell a little bit, but I never, like, they wouldn't get like so big I couldn't fit into my bra. And for the most part, maybe I have like one day of like PMS bitchiness before my period starts, but for the most part, I'm kind of a bitchy person anyway, so who's to tell if it's because of the PMS or if it's just me being me. So I don't really get much warning, and I wanted to have the Lily Cup Compact to keep in my purse in case my period should show itself at an inconvenient time where I wasn't expecting it, and I could just pop out the Lily Cup Compact and call it a day. However, as we know, the upfront cost is, a little scary always. Even if you have a cup and you know how awesome it is and how much money it saves you over time, it's still like, $40 out of my paycheck right now. It's not the happiest feeling when you're checking out. So I got the original because it holds, I believe, 30 ml. So basically, from Intimina, it was the highest capacity cup. And again, being someone with a heavy flow, I wanted something that had a higher capacity because the compact holds, I think, 20. So 10 mLs less than this. So, take this and make it like that much smaller probably. And that's how much it holds. So, you gotta do what you gotta do. I overall prefer Lily Cup. I do prefer, or sorry, not Lily Cup, Diva Cup. I do prefer Diva Cup just because Lily Cup is I really only use it on days where I am super heavy. I'm not going to be going out and doing much, and I have those cramps that almost keep me bedridden. And, I mean, it's going to take a lot for my cramps to keep me bedridden, but yeah, for those days, I do prefer this just because it's softer, it's more flexible, and I feel like when I'm having cramps, my body reacts better to this. When it comes to Diva Cup is best in general, in my opinion. Like, for me, I prefer Diva Cup 100%. The sturdiness of it is best if you are someone who is athletic, if you are someone who works out, if you are someone who is go, go, go all the time. If you want a 100% certainty that you have that suction, Diva Cup, because Diva Cup will give you certainty. Lily Cup, you will not hear a pop. You won't even really feel a pop. So there have been several times where I've used my Lily Cup and I thought that I had the suction there, and I thought that it was in, I thought that it was good, and it turns out that it wasn't. And I got a little leakage. Happens if you don't do it right. All right. Has the menstrual cup changed my life, like so many people claim? Hell yes. Abso-freaking-lutely. The menstrual cup has completely changed my life and my period. And I feel like if you change your period, you change your life. If you change how you feel about your period, you change your life, all right? Using the menstrual cup has made me so much more confident in my body. It has made me so much more familiar with my body. It made me feel, honestly, like more of a mature woman, because I feel now like I know my body inside and out. And that's a really good feeling, because I feel like most of the time when it comes to products that are marketed towards women, the power is in the hands of the product and the people selling the product, where I feel like with menstrual cups, it puts the power in your hands, right? The menstrual cup just frees you. The menstrual cup frees you, okay? Who does not want to be free? Who doesn't want to be free? I want to be free. Do you want to be free? Let's be free, right? Because I have forgotten I'm on my period. If you want to forget that you're on your period, try menstrual cups. I literally will forget. If I'm not having a crampy day, I will forget I'm on my period. Like, you can wear these for up to 12 hours. I have gone 15, 16, 17, 18 hours because I forgot I had it in. And I forgot I was on my period, right? I've actually woken up in the middle of the night, maybe like 3 in.the.morning, like that shooting up in your bed thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to change my menstrual cup. Like, I gotta take it out. And again, usually those are like medium to light flow days and days where I'm not feeling crampy, but it has happened, and it happens almost every other flow. I will forget that I'm on my period. So if you want to forget you're on your period, get a menstrual cup. Hashtag you're welcome. So obviously everything that I have said so far sounds very brainwashy, like, oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. It is the best thing in the world. I'm freaking biased, freaking love the thing. Some cons, maybe? Okay, these are not necessarily cons. I don't think there are any cons to the menstrual cup. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I really don't think there are any cons. But there are things to consider. If you are squeamish, you'll either A, have to avoid the menstrual cup, or B, get over it, right? So slowly, little by little, face your fears and get over it. Listen, menstrual blood is not smelly unless it hits oxygen. And with the menstrual cup, it's only gonna hit oxygen when you remove it. But guess what? You remove it and you immediately pour it out. So the smell is pretty much non-existent. Your period is no longer gonna be smelly. It's no longer gonna be sticky. It's really no longer gonna be messy. And like, once you get used to it, once you get over the learning curve, etc. Once you get your technique down of, like, you break this, you gotta put your finger in there, ladies. You put your finger in, you break your suction, because this is how I do it since I have an ID. You break your suction and you pull it out. And as long as you pull it out sort of tilted this way instead of like this, like, you don't want to pull it out like this. As long as you pull it out like this and it's not completely full, which it rarely is. Again, it's only going to be really full if you've left it in for 20 hours because you forgot it was there. So as long as you pull out like this, it's never really going to spill, right? So just keep that in mind. All right, if you don't like the sight of blood, you're just gonna have to get over it, because honestly, it's worth it. There are plenty of things that you're just gonna have to get over because it's worth it, right? I mean, childbirth, right? No one talks about how awesome and amazing the actual process of childbirth is. Everyone knows it's painful. Everyone knows that it's messy. Everyone knows that it can be borderline traumatizing. But everyone says that, you know, having the baby at the end is like, yay, it's the best thing ever, so it's worth it. Same. Could be a little dramatic, but it's the same. So if you are afraid of blood, if you are squeamish, if you don't like the sight of blood, think about forgetting you're on your period. Think about wearing white pants on your period, like those tampon commercials. Think about going to the gym on your period. Think about swimming on your period. Think about booking that trip to Hawaii for whenever you freaking want, because even if you are on your period, you're good. Think about that. Think about going on a flight on your period and you don't have to go to that gross plain bathroom to deal with it. So, if any of that sounds worth it to you, then get over the blood thing. God, what are cons? I mean, there's a learning curve. Like everyone says, there is a learning curve. You really have to learn how it works best for you, right? Because there's all the different folds, which again, in my part 2, I will talk about. But, you know, there's all the different folds. There's like this fold, the C fold, right? There's the push down fold, which is like this, which again, I will show in more detail elsewhere. Care and cleanliness, I will cover in part 2. Yeah, God, cons. There are no cons. It's so annoying. My very first cycle using this, it was perfect. No complaints. Second cycle, I had a little bit of droopage just because I don't think the suction was in there quite right. Now I always tug to make sure the suction is there. Oh, okay, another con. If you are, you know, someone who's irregular, or let's say sometimes your period catches you by surprise, if you don't have one of these in your purse at all times, then, you know, you will have to resort to borrowing a pad or borrowing a tampon from someone, and, you know, that may not be completely pleasant after you've been using the cup for a while. You may want to start with something like the Lily Cup Compact, which does come, you know, foldable and in a compact to keep in your purse, or you just keep this in your purse in a little carrying bag because yay, they provide them for you. Little carrying bags. Oh, carrying bags. So super cute, but also, you know, really useful clearly to keep in your purse around that time of the month. So, God, I really can't think of any cons. This is really hard. I can only think of how freaking awesome the menstrual cup is. It literally has changed my life. I don't have to worry about anything. If you have any extra questions, please ask. I will gladly answer them. And yeah, that is the beauty of the menstrual cup, ladies. You go get yourself a menstrual cup. You try it, okay? You try it. These brands have sales all the time, like 10% off, 15% off. There is no excuse anymore. Get yourself a menstrual cup. It will change your life. Get through the learning curve. Don't be discouraged. And that's all. That's all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.